Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing this Rudy Pando V3 Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi hilt. This is a hilt that I bought a couple of months ago from someone in the Facebook groups, and I had sent it to a good friend of mine called Martin, who has done a number of hilts for me with accurate weathering and painting and things like that. So he had a ton of reference pictures, and he's also done his own exactly like this. So I trust his work, and I will link his page down below if any of you want to reach out to him. He does take commissions for weathering and painting, etc. So just briefly discuss what the V3 is, because for those who don't know, you'd be forgiven to think, oh, what is this? It's just the regular Luke Skywalker lightsaber, the hero lightsaber that everyone knows, but it looks a little bit rubbish. Well, it's not quite that one. What you might be thinking of is this one. I know they look very similar. Let's try to compare them. But at first glance, they're similar, but they're not the same. In fact, they're two completely different hilts, or two different props that were used during filming. This over here, which everyone knows, is commonly known as a hero prop, or sometimes referred to as the V1. I think we'll call it the V1 in this video just for simplicity. So this is a V1 that everyone knows. It's got the very characteristic gold or copper gold neck. It's got the thin trace control box here with the green and red LEDs on the side, and the tri-ring, etc. The V3 is different. It's we'll go over the differences top to bottom, but the history of the prop is that when they were filming Return of the Jedi, this didn't even exist. They were using this one, which is called a V2, for most of the medium shots where Luke is has it on his belt or he takes it out. For close-up scenes, you'll see this in most of the film. If you really kind of pay attention to what Luke has in his hand, most of the time it's this one, the V2. It's the one that Emperor Palpatine takes from him. He puts it on the throne right next to him. You can see it in the entire film, V2. But in some of the other scenes, the actors need what's known as a bladed stunt. So a stunt saber is essentially something that's either cast or made especially for fight scenes. So there were two in Return of the Jedi. One was called the Yuma and one was called the V3. This is the V3 that we're talking about today. The Yuma was only, I believe, used for the Jabba scene where he was fighting off Jabba's henchmen on the skiff. And then that saber, the Yuma, after filming, I think, or somewhere down the line, it got reused. It got painted and cleaned up, and it became this. It became the V1. So the V1 actually only appears in this state in two very small scenes. One is where Vader is holding it in his hand and he's turning it over and he goes, "I see you have constructed a new lightsaber." That's the V1. The other scene was deleted from the film altogether. It's a deleted scene. You'll find it on, if you have a Blu-ray, you go into deleted scenes section, you'll find a scene where Luke is on Tatooine in the cave early on in the film, and he's building it. He's actually constructing it. You can see him. He slides this down, and he's fiddling with it, and these lights turn on, start blinking, and then he goes like that, and then he turns it on. And that scene was ultimately deleted from the movie. Those are the only two scenes where you can see the V1 in its current state. So it's very ironic that the hilt that had the least screen time is actually the most well-known version, and it's what's accepted as Luke's official Return of the Jedi saber. So all the toys that you see, all the replicas you see from Galaxy's Edge, from Hasbro, from all those toy ones are all based on the V1 design. And that's because it's aesthetically very nice, obviously. And it went on some tours and things like that, so it's just well known. So that's enough about that. V1, V2, this is a V3. The V3 is, as I said, it's a bladed stunt. It looks similar to that, and perhaps this was the inspiration to do that. I think they probably modeled the paint job based on this one. And this you can see, if you pay attention to the duel scene at the end with Vader, what he's got in his hand, what he's actually fighting with, is this one. It's not that one. That one is like with the Emperor at the beginning, like when he's taunting him and it says, "You want this," and he like taps it like that and he pulls it toward him with the force. But in the actual fight scene, if you pause it, it's this one. And you can also see that right at the end of the duel, when he beats Vader and cuts off his hand, and he turns it off and throws it away, it is this one. If you pause it, you will see that it's a V3. So main differences from the V1 is, let's start at the top, a slightly different shape of the emitter. See, if I line them up, it is sort of shorter. Neck is about the same. The rings of the grenade section are of even thickness, and they are thicker. The V1 has uneven rings. There's a seam here, which Martin added. There's a seam on either side. That's from it being cast. Overall, it just looks a little grimier and dirtier and more weathered. There's also chrome tape. The reason this is shiny is because there's a layer of chrome or foil tape surrounding it. Moving down, the clamp section is completely different. So the V1 has a specific, it's designed with a control box with the rails and the buttons and everything else. This has just a Graflex clamp, which is upside down, and it's covered with chrome tape. But you can see, if you're familiar with the Graflex, you know that it has this cut here, and you can even see, if I just see the G underneath the chrome tape, and these three holes, I'm not sure what they're about. It's probably because it was pulled off of a stunt saber and reused. And again, there's chrome tape around the whole clamp. We can see here a very nicely weathered lever, because the reference pictures look like it's been heavily rusted over the years. The clamp card is different. So this has those thin copper traces against a bluish translucent background. This is actually made from a brass, it's just a brass plate, and these thicker black traces on them are just strips of electrical tape, and I think that's how they made theirs back in the day. That's what I asked Martin to do, is to try to make it as authentic as possible. I'll quickly show you the clamp card that came with it. Okay, so this clamp card comes with it, with the Rudy Pando, and it's made by Sloth Furnace. It's double-sided, so on one side it's like a V2 style clamp card. On the reverse, this is the V3 style. So this is also accurate. It's beautiful, nothing wrong with it at all. Would have been absolutely fine, but this is just more authentic because it's made of actual brass with strips of electrical tape on top of it. And I prefer that. What else did Martin do? A lot of like weathering here. He darkened up the booster with aluminium black, darkened up the pommel, added these dents and dings all over it, as I requested, just to match the pictures of the real prop. So this is the static emitter. It also comes with an FX emitter for a 7/8 inch blade, which I will not be using because I don't think I'm going to install this one. The D-ring is a found D-ring, so it's not a vintage, but it's a real-world part that Martin found somewhere and matches the size and shape of the original D-ring. There's also foil tape or chrome tape across here underneath the booster, and again underneath the pommel cubes right here. So all these details just make it look much more accurate. Really beautifully painted shade of almost like a rose gold dark copper, which is slightly different to the more yellowish copper or the gold copper of the V1. What else? These last details are more sort of real world details. They're not sort of in-universe Return of the Jedi details, but over here there's some sort of stamping by that pommel cube. There's a, like, I don't know if it's a serial number or a catalog number or something. And over here on top there's a label that says Luke's Jedi lightsaber, and again that number P102. This is easily removable. I could just undo the string and it comes out. This hilt, or this prop, the V3, was sent to NASA, and NASA sent it up on aboard a space shuttle back in the day for some reason. I don't know whether it was a promotional thing or there was an event of some. I really have no idea, but it did make it on board a space shuttle, and presumably these were to identify it as part of what the astronauts were taking on board, or they might have been added later as part of a museum exhibition or something. I'm not really sure of the details, but there are pictures of it that have this exact label with this inscription on it, as well as the number over here. But yeah, easily removable. All I have to do is pull on it and then just undo it like so, and it comes out, and then that looks more like an actual in-universe lightsaber. And that's about it. So very nicely darkened up over here, aluminium black, some black paint, chrome tape, bit more weathering here on the bottom, painted thin neck, weathered grenade with a seam. He's added a little bit of weathering powder in between as well, in between the grooves. You can't really see that much on camera, but it just adds a little more to the aging effect of it. The clamp is a Graflex clamp turned upside down, covered with chrome tape, brass plate with electrical tape, lever painted to emulate rust, darkened up booster, chrome tape, pommel cubes with the dents and dings, D-ring, serial number, chrome tape again on the bottom, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, I've now got pretty much a complete set of Luke Skywalker hilts from Return of the Jedi as a V1, V2, and V3. I'm only missing the Yuma, which technically this was a Yuma. So the Yuma is very similar to this. It just has a less attractive paint job, and this doesn't function. So that black bit is actually like a metallic part that sticks out like that, the control box. I have no immediate plans of purchasing the Yuma. I know Dave Parkin did an amazing Yuma a couple of years ago, but that run is over and it's sold out, and I just have to buy it off someone who's selling it, which it's not a priority right now. But that's it. Yeah, amazing work by Martin, as usual. Thank you very much, mate, if you're watching. I will link his details down below, and thank you all for watching.